All right, welcome to my e-portfolio. This is Drew Moore. I'm working with Fort Hays State University for the Principal Licensure Program. First thing I wanted to do was to go through some of my professional and personal goals. Professionally, within a couple years, I would like to be an assistant principal in a district that rivals the size that I currently work in, which is over 20,000 students, over 2,200 at my current high school. Within 5 years, I see myself running my own building. And then in 5 years after that, within 10 years, I would like to be working towards a superintendent role with my doctorate in education, which I've already started the program for the educational specialist here at Fort Hays State University. Personal goals, I tried to limit it, but I wanted to talk personally just about my family. Two beautiful daughters. I'd love to be in a district that's just like this for them to grow up in. I continue to be a supportive spouse in case my wife would like to reenter the workforce, like her to do whatever it is she has her sights set on. And then just financially with investments and retirement, looking into that a little bit further. So I kind of went that route with personal goals. Next, I want to talk a little bit about my program of study. So I actually put it up here, the top tab. So I was able to transfer 6 hours from Heidelberg University for my Master's of Education, and then I had to take 15 hours with Fort Hays. As you can see, I scrolled down to make a total of 21 in order to attain the licensure. The next thing I'm going to focus on is my resume. In my resume, I've had quite a bit of different experiences at the collegiate level, also at the high school and the elementary levels as far as teaching and coaching. So you can see there's my degrees, and I'm actually working towards the the educational specialist with Fort Hays State, which will lead me into the doctoral program in the sister program that Fort Hays State does have with Lamar University. So I actually spent some time 7 years as a college football coach before I re-entered into high school as a health and physical education teacher. I've currently been doing that since August of 2013. I work with the Ohio State University with the strength and conditioning department as well through different schools. I'm an assistant football coach. When I was in college, my previous job for 7 years was to recruit and coach collegiately, but I also did some things which I wanted to highlight. The NCAA Regional Baseball Tournament. I was the tournament manager for 3 years. That's actually part of the ISLLC standards that I highlight later on. I feel like that gives me some managerial type duties leading towards ISLLC number 3, I believe, with facility management. I was also the interim head coach when our head football coach had left. And then I decided, when my wife and I were pregnant with our first child, it was time to get out of that profession. And that's where I'm at with Olentangy Local Schools. This is just some of my coaching experience, professional development, and things of that nature. The next item I want to focus on is going to be my A bibliography. And with this, I focused on a variety of things, especially relating to the ISLLC standards. I wanted to try to hit each and every one of those if I could. So as I scrolled down, not in any order, but looked into the preparation to become a school leader with respect to social order. That was one of the first things that I looked at. I looked at performance standards and dropout rates as to why with different diversity and in different types of communities, which is totally different than the one that I'm in right now. So I felt that was beneficial. How to attain staff cooperation and continue with a high level of energy within that staff, basically creating buy-in. As I continue to scroll, I had a look into how leadership is enacted in different cultures, looking at actually overseas a little bit and how their educational system works, how their leadership roles work, and some diversity there. I also took a look at measuring sticks and evaluations to determine effective and ineffective teachers. So basically, the evaluation process. We have a pretty stringent evaluation process here in Ohio currently. And then finally, the roles of instructional leadership in today's society. I felt that was important just because with the advent of technology and students, and ultimately the goal is to reach a high level of student achievement. And the only way to do that is to acclimate ourselves to how our students currently are and some of the things that they're exposed to. All right, the next item is going to be focused on my reflection, which is the meat of my presentation, my e-portfolio. So my district, elementary, and secondary hours were all submitted. Those will be located in an Excel document, which I've been submitting for basically the last full year in order to hit those 150 plus hours. So here is my presentation. So what I'm going to do is just interpret each one of these. Part of this might get cut off occasionally in the bottom right. But basically, ISLLC Standard 1, I focused on Olentangy local schools here in the state of Ohio and their vision statement. So students will perform on a high level that surpasses their ability in all areas of achievement. We will establish and maintain specific parameters that we'd like our students to hit. So these are all specifically coming from Olentangy. Respectful, caring, safe environment, research-based, basically, students as far as their decision-making levels, trying to get them to be self-evaluators and figure things out. Collaboration focused on improving student learning, and an active partnership with parents and the community. Standard number 2. The way I interpreted this standard focused on establishing high expectations throughout the district and or the specific building. So administratively, I felt like I will work to help create the curriculum being used by the teachers and the aides. As the leader, I will also utilize the idea of accountability, relating towards instructional leadership, and the element of technology should be used in relation to Standard 2. So some examples I had for Standard 2. You can see the LPDC meeting. So I did sit in on 4 different board meetings. LPDC was focused on 3 different professional development days, and we've already had 2. This was focused on November 21st. The focus was to plan the 3rd. And I had a chance to log some of those ideas and kind of sit in. I didn't contribute a lot, but I had a chance to log a lot of those things for our current administrators, what they do as of right now. Continuing on, Standard 3, I felt like this standard aided in the idea of promoting a safe environment for students and staff. I thought that was pretty self-explanatory. I have a ton of experience with this. As an administrator, the goal is to create an environment that looks at procedures and processes that lean towards efficient management and operation systems. So you can see here, our school district was actually in the top 5 of top workplaces in 2016. So this is different companies. This is major companies, clothing stores, retail, major multi-million-dollar corporations, and ours was the only school that was in the top 100, believe it or not. So that was pretty special. So I just wanted to note that. And then continuing on with this, as I said on my resume, I was the NCAA Regional Baseball Tournament Director for 3 years. I was in charge of lodging, scheduling their hotels, food accommodations, the schedule of the actual games. I worked with an NCAA representative, facilities, making sure that those were all. So I worked with our athletic director in order to handle some of these administrative positions, the press box, interviews after games, just a variety of things. And I tried to highlight a couple things. And this was when I was at Marietta College for 6 years. Had a chance to do that, which I thought was beneficial for my administrative type things that I'm in charge of. So I continued that on. This semester, I was a football coach, so it was a little bit tougher. So I did a lot of things last winter with being the administrator in charge of certain athletic events, basketball, volleyball, and I actually did that with Olentangy local schools. So I felt like that leaned towards safety for students in those situations as well. And finally, with number 3, as I said, I work for Ohio State University, with within the sports medicine department, a group called Sports Performance. So we actually updated a lot of things in our weight room. So I got a picture here with a couple of different racks that I had 3 vendors that I got estimates from, and then we decided to go with a specific one, and then we chose to kind of reinvent the weight room for the most part, and that's kind of part of my duties. This was an extra duty along with training our different athletes at the school. Standard 4, this standard focuses on delving into the school's social, economical, and cultural diversities. As an administrator, I feel it's extremely important to tie the community into district issues and occurrences. We had a bond issue, so basically we were putting in a 4th high school, and I'll show you some of these numbers here, but it didn't get any better than bringing the community together to do something this special because we were overcrowded in the 3 high schools that we currently had. So a little bit more information with this. You can see like the proposed site for the high school. We had 1,600 students. Our 3 schools built for 1,600 students, and each one of them had over 2,000 in it currently as of 2016-17 school year. So it was definitely needed to have a 4th high school. So the nice thing about this is I worked with a group called OFK, which was Olentangy for Kids, and this group focused on basically going door to door and talking with elementary students because these were the kids, these are the votes that they needed from the elementary parents in order to pass this levy for this 4th high school. So that was very interesting. Got a chance to work with a lot of great ladies in that regard. And you can see this is kind of just showing the different high schools, kind of what the venue would look like here for the 4th. And then graduation, so they were able to accomplish their goal. Standard 5 emphasizes the idea of fairness toward all students and all staff for that matter. As an administrator, it's essential to implement and promote the elements of equality, democracy, and social justice. I got a little quote here. I'll read it because I know part of it's covered up. Fair isn't everybody getting the same thing. Basically, fair is everybody getting what they need in order to be successful. So not every kid is going to be the exact same, and they all deserve to be treated with fairness, but sometimes fairness is a little different for each individual student. And finally, along with Standard 5 here, just to kind of sum this up, I aided the assistant principal in organizing representatives for the principal's advisory committee, so we allow students to kind of have a voice here, and I helped with the voting process, procedures when picking the PAC. I specifically created the document in order to place 1 male and 1 female for each respective class, which gives the students a little bit of a voice in the high school as well. And number 6 here, educational leader promotes the success of every student by understanding, responding to, and basically effectively advocating a high level of education for each student. As an administrator, it's my responsibility to execute through local, district, state, national levels. So working with board meetings here, I went to four board meetings, as I said earlier, in standard number 1. And the nice thing about that is I had a chance to specifically work with the reasoning why we had schools for 1,600 students, and all of a sudden each school was over 1,900. Actually, 2 of the 3 were over 2,000. So a 4th levy, 4th high school was voted on, and it's gonna be open in 2018. So I put together this sheet here and aided our principal secretary with these enrollment numbers to give to our community, so they knew exactly what was going on.